Hey there, fellow citizens of the world. Welcome to a journey that connects us all, no matter where we come from. Let's talk about something we all love, stuff. Yes, the things we buy, cherish, and sometimes even forget we own. You know, the things we buy, use, and occasionally hoard in our basements. From the latest gadgets to everyday essentials, our lives are filled with stuff. Ever wonder where all that stuff comes from? How does it get from one corner of the globe to another? Well, get ready for a wild ride as we explore the wacky world of international trade. It's a fascinating journey that shows how interconnected we all are. It's a global dance, really. A dance where countries move in rhythm, exchanging goods and services in a complex yet beautiful choreography. Countries shimmying around, exchanging goods and services like there's no tomorrow. It's a non-stop exchange that keeps the world turning. Think of it as a massive flea market, but instead of haggling over vintage lamps, we're talking cars, coffee, and those fancy phones we can't seem to live without. It's a marketplace on a grand scale. Why do we do it? Simple. It's all about getting what we need and want. No country has it all. Each nation has its own strengths and resources. Some are swimming in oil, providing the energy that powers our lives. Others are rocking the tech scene, creating the innovations that drive our future. Trading lets everyone share the bounty, boosting economies and keeping those shelves stocked. It's a win-win situation that benefits us all. But hold on to your hats, folks, because international trade isn't all sunshine and roses. It's a complex and often challenging landscape. It's a complex web of agreements, tariffs, and the occasional trade war. These elements can make or break economies and affect our daily lives. But fear not, dear reader, because we're about to break it all down last week tonight style. We'll make sense of the chaos and bring clarity to the confusion. You'll be dropping trade jargon like a pro in no time, so buckle up, Buttercup. Get ready to impress your friends with your newfound knowledge. We're about to dive headfirst into the thrilling world of international trade. It's a journey that will open your eyes to the incredible connections that bind us all together. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. When it comes to international trade, understanding the terminology is crucial. It's like learning a new language, but instead of ordering coffee, you're dealing with billions of dollars and the economic health of entire nations. To understand this whole international trade shebang, we've got to learn the lingo. Just like any specialized field, trade has its own set of jargon that can seem daunting at first, but once you get the hang of it, it all starts to make sense. First up, we've got the balance of trade. Think of it like your bank account, but for a whole country. It's the difference between what a country earns from its exports and what it spends on imports. A positive balance means more money is coming in than going out, while a negative balance indicates the opposite. If a country exports more than it imports, sells more stuff than it buys, it's running a trade surplus. Cha-ching! More money, more problems, right? A trade surplus can be a sign of a strong economy, but it can also lead to tensions with trading partners who may feel they're getting the short end of the stick. On the flip side, if a country imports more than it exports, buys more than it sells, it's got itself a trade deficit. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can indicate a healthy demand for foreign goods and services. However, a persistent trade deficit can lead to debt and economic instability. Now, a deficit isn't always a bad thing. It can mean a country has strong consumer demand and access to a wider variety of goods. Consumers benefit from more choices and often lower prices, thanks to competition from foreign producers. But if it gets out of hand, it can lead to economic hiccups. A large and persistent trade deficit can weaken a country's currency, making imports more expensive and potentially leading to inflation. It can also make the country more vulnerable to economic shocks. Next up, let's talk tariffs. Tariffs are one of the oldest tools in the trade policy toolbox, dating back centuries. They can be used for various purposes, from protecting nascent industries to retaliating against unfair trade practices. In the simplest terms, tariffs are taxes on imported goods. When a country imposes a tariff, it makes foreign products more expensive, encouraging consumers to buy domestic products instead. This can help protect local jobs and industries. They're like those pesky baggage fees airlines hit you with. Just as baggage fees can make you reconsider how much you pack, tariffs can make businesses and consumers rethink their purchasing decisions. Governments use them to protect domestic industries from foreign competition or to generate revenue. By making imported goods more expensive, tariffs can give local businesses a fighting chance to grow and thrive. Think of it as a way to give local businesses a fighting chance. However, while tariffs can provide short-term benefits, they can also lead to higher prices for consumers and strained relations with trading partners. But be warned, tariff wars can erupt when countries start slapping them on each other's goods. These tit-for-tat measures can escalate quickly, leading to higher costs for businesses and consumers and potentially sparking broader economic conflicts. Not exactly the makings of a harmonious global market, is it? Tariff wars can disrupt supply chains, increase costs, and create uncertainty in the global economy, making it harder for businesses to plan and invest. Finally, we have trade agreements. These are the frameworks that govern international trade, setting the rules and standards that countries agree to follow. They can cover a wide range of issues, from tariffs and quotas to labor standards and environmental protections. These are like the rule books of international trade, negotiated and signed by 2 or more countries. Trade agreements can help reduce barriers to trade, making it easier and cheaper for businesses to export and import goods and services. They set the terms for trade, like reducing tariffs, streamlining customs procedures, and protecting intellectual property rights. By creating a more predictable and transparent trading environment, trade agreements can help boost economic growth and development. Think of them as prenups for countries looking to do business together. Just as a prenup can help prevent disputes in a marriage, trade agreements can help prevent conflicts and ensure that trade flows smoothly. Now that we've got the basics down, let's see how this whole trade thing is shaping up in our crazy, mixed-up world. With globalization, trade has become more complex and interconnected than ever before. Understanding the language of trade is the first step to navigating this intricate web and making informed decisions in the global marketplace. Well, folks, it wouldn't be a proper discussion of the 21st century without mentioning the elephant in the room, or should I say the virus on the shipping container, COVID-19. This global pandemic threw a real wrench in the gears of international trade. Remember those supply chain disruptions, empty shelves? Yeah, that was COVID's doing. See, when factories shut down and borders slammed shut, the smooth flow of goods across the globe hit a major snag. Suddenly, face masks and hand sanitizer were the hottest commodities on the market, and toilet paper became a precious resource. Who knew, right? But here's the thing about crises. They can also spark innovation and change. The pandemic forced businesses to rethink their supply chains, explore new markets, and embrace digital technologies like never before. So, while COVID-19 may have thrown us a curveball, it also highlighted the importance of a resilient and adaptable global trading system. Because let's face it, folks, pandemics may come and go, but the need to buy, sell, and trade stuff, that's eternal. Now let's hop across the pond and talk about another event that shook up the world of trade, Brexit. You remember Brexit, right? It was one of those moments that had everyone talking, from political analysts to your next-door neighbour. The decision for the UK to leave the European Union was monumental, and its ripple effects were felt far and wide. The UK decided to break up with the European Union like a messy divorce after a whirlwind romance. It wasn't just a simple parting of ways. It was a complex disentanglement of economies, policies, and people. Imagine trying to separate two intertwined vines without damaging either one. And as with any good breakup, there were bound to be some awkward moments, especially when it came to trade. Businesses that had enjoyed seamless operations suddenly found themselves navigating a maze of new regulations and paperwork. It was like going from a smooth highway to a bumpy, winding road overnight. See, being part of the EU meant the UK enjoyed frictionless trade with its European neighbours. Goods and services flowed freely across borders, much like water in a well-connected plumbing system. There were no tariffs, no customs checks, just smooth, efficient trade. It was like a big, happy family sharing goods and services without any pesky tariffs or customs checks. Businesses thrived, consumers had access to a wide variety of products, and the economy benefited from the ease of movement. But after Brexit, things got a tad more complicated. Suddenly there were new rules to follow, new forms to fill out, and new barriers to overcome. It was as if someone had thrown a wrench into the well-oiled machine of trade. The UK and the EU had to negotiate a whole new trade deal, and let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. The negotiations were long, arduous, and fraught with tension. Each side had its own interests to protect, and finding common ground was no easy task. There were arguments, threats, and enough political posturing to make your head spin. The media was abuzz with every twist and turn, and the uncertainty weighed heavily on businesses and consumers alike. In the end, they managed to hammer out an agreement, but it came with a whole bunch of new rules and regulations. The simplicity of the old system was gone, replaced by a more complex and cumbersome process. The result? Increased costs for businesses, delays at borders, and a whole lot of confusion. Companies had to adapt to the new reality, often at significant expense. The smooth flow of goods was disrupted, leading to delays and frustrations. Brexit showed us that breaking up is hard to do, especially when it comes to something as complex and interconnected as international trade. It was a stark reminder of how deeply intertwined our economies are and how challenging it can be to untangle them. The lessons learned from Brexit continue to shape trade policies and negotiations around the world, highlighting the importance of cooperation and the complexities of economic relationships.